user, but the network crew didn't use anything either. So we are peaking at 400 megabit, and it has just been going steadily. This is one of these standard graphs where you can see the days, and apparently people do less work at night than they do in the day, and so on. But 400 megabit, should you give yourself a round of applause for 400 megabit? Okay, so I'm up here this year instead of Kamse, who has been doing this for the last, since we started this, forever, 3 years, I think. We decided that it was my turn to to be responsible for the NOC thing, because yes, it was time for that. This was the way to do it, and Kamse wanted to do the specific technical stuff. But I would very much like you guys to give Kamse a hand for the last 3 years of being NOC responsible. Awesome. So, we, of course, sought a lot of inspiration in what happened last year at the State of the Network, and I kind of just did a screenshot because this is still valid, except the 2000. This should be 2019. I actually just did a screenshot. Basically, what we try to achieve with this network is to give you as much access to the internet as possible and look as little as possible at what you are doing. So we are not doing intrusion detection. We are not logging, centralized logging of MAC addresses. We are not all these things. And it also means that when stuff goes wrong, we kind of don't have anything to look at. We have a lot of metrics. We know that there were some wireless controllers, wireless clients accessing things, and we have, the graph I showed about how many megabits and so on. But the logging of what individual machines and users are doing is as little as we can. Yes. If you this thing about the MAC addresses is actually one of the things where you can do something yourself if you are into these things. So we are really trying to make an effort in not logging things. And I think we succeeded pretty well. Okay. And then another thing that, so I come here, yay, I'm NOC, I'm to do networking, I'm responsible for this, and then, is there any networking left for me to do? So the thing that happens is that we have this super awesome networking NOC team. Could you stand up, please? Yes. This has been super awesome to be responsible for a group of people where, well, it's me over there drinking coffee, and then stuff just happens. It has been super cool. When I think of the network crew, and especially some of the members, I kind of got to think about the Energizer bunny that just keeps on going and going and going and going and going and going and going. Yeah. Super cool. Thanks a lot, guys. This has been awesome to work with you. We, of course, had a lot of preparation. We had some planning. We had a lot of good ideas. We had some equipment and so on. And we'll get back to that in a moment. But we made a network diagram, and we kind of, yes, this could work. And then suddenly, out of the blue, we suddenly got a lot of switches and servers and cables. We got the 1.5 kilometers of fiber extra. It's just so, first of all, to everybody contributing and lending us and borrowing and giving us stuff, a big thank you. It's really cool to have more than you need, because it gives you a lot of options when you're using these things. And one thing that I'm always wondering when I'm at a place like Bornhack is that when I talk to my friends, they think I have a lot of stuff. But apparently, I don't have a lot of stuff. Suddenly a mile of fiber appears out. Do you keep it under your beds, or where do you hide these things? But you have a lot of stuff, and we use it, and we're really happy about it. It gives us options to play with the network in ways to make it redundant and more stable, and it's super cool. So thank you, all of you who have given us stuff to play with. Okay, So, as I mentioned, we had a certain level of technical preparation. We have, Chukling is not here. He talked a lot with people and did a lot of things with with Global Connect. And when it comes to doing the talk to RIPE and getting us our permanent autonomous system number, and we actually have permanent IP version 6 addresses. So whatever addresses we have this year, it's going to be the same next year. It's probably not going to be the same for IP version 4, but hey, we kind of got the same as last year, right? So maybe, maybe not. But we actually have an IP version 6 block dedicated to Bornhack now. I think that is actually super cool. Okay, so there are a lot of preparation that needs to be done in a place like this. We of course had a plan, and we rolled out these kilometers of fiber and set up these pubs. And yes, and we are going to look into all these different techie things. So we had a plan. I called this one Pearls on a String. It is, how can I put it? It's not what we want, because the guys down in the workshop area is super dependent on that all the pubs are working. And that's a bad design, but there was a limitation we had due to the equipment we had available. So, shit, but okay, it works. We go for this. Okay, what we actually implemented looks like this. So, I can go back and forth a bit here. Okay, so the point is that there's a lot more fiber here, and it's very cool. And we implemented this ring structure. It actually, when I made the drawing, it looked completely insane, but it works. We have a ring going like that. And that means that if this fiber dies, they won't notice, because the system will, find a way to route to this guy without using the link in the middle. And the same goes if, say, in the noisy area, somebody uses too much power, and there's a power outage in noisy area, it will not affect the other areas. That's why we like rings so much. And this has been working, and we were happy when it got up and running. It was nice. And then we added our secondary pub in the Prosa tent. So this is a much better network than the one we planned. And it's because we could get all this stuff, and we're really happy about it. We even had, redundant stuff if anything happened. So if you noticed the two diagrams, let me show you again. Which parts are reused? A lot or a little? Actually, we reused the planning. We reused that one and that one. So it was really nice spending a lot of time planning, because it was really useful in the long run. But it also turns out, please notice the bar. Right? So for some reason, bars move in a between planning and implementation. Bars move. I actually did not know that, but hey, okay, now we know. And so this thing with the length, right? So when you start moving the bar, 20 meters in some random direction, you kind of need longer fibers. So we had a super nice crew that wanted to walk around the bushes pulling fibers, and it works, and it's super nice. This hashtag too short, you're going to see that a couple of times, because one of the things that actually also dawned on me was I have made this length, I've measured it using Google Maps and so on. And I added this, say, 20% safety margin to ensure that we kind of had enough and so on. And it worked. And in reality, I should have added 50 or 100%. So even if we had not gotten extra equipment, this would not have worked. We would have had a lot of Ethernet cable and, running around figuring out what we were doing. Yes. And we also, just because we could, actually, not because we could, because it's cool, we have this weather map of the terrain. For graphical reasons, this one is not doing like that. But otherwise, you can see how many megabits and so on that the different parts of the network is uploading and downloading. So that's a way of seeing if, if they are using 300 megabit in the Prosa tent for some reason. It happened the other day. This is okay, good for them. They're probably having a really nice LAN party or something. Yes, and so this is one of the ways we monitor what's going on. Actually, all these links, they are 10 gigabit, right? Did I mention this thing about having a maximum of 400 megabit? So all these links are 10 gigabit, which is massive overcapacity. And again, for graphical reasons, it turns red at 100 megabit, because if we asked it to go red at 10,000 megabit, it will always be the unused state. But we have a lot of capacity in this, and we are figuring out ways of massively abusing it next year. Why have so much bandwidth if you don't use it, you know? Okay, some stats. This is a really nice stats from which device is this, Rudy? Yes, the SX router, yes. And so we are having, this is large numbers, so I actually just wrote it more readable. So we have been uploading and downloading 2.6 terabyte and downloading, and uploading 400 gigabytes. Use more bandwidth? So it's going to be hard to argue getting a 10 gig if we can't invent a reason to use the bandwidth. I heard a good suggestion from Tückling yesterday, so we kind of maybe find a reason to have 10 gigs. Okay, so we're building this, and have you all seen this? Because this is the most interesting solution I have for a road crossing I've seen in a long time. So this is some flagpoles. You can just call Godig and rent them. They are 6-ish meters high. And then we just, yes, no problem. And we made a sign saying maximum height 4.3 meters. I'm pretty sure 4.3 meters is here-ish. So no problem. It was a very cool solution. So we have this well, we need to cross it, and we got all the permits from the commune and so on. It was nice. We had a plan about how much fiber we would need to get from the well to the family area, right? So the green one was the plan. The red one is implemented. Just saying, you know. And to make matters even worse, as we saw from the, so this is the family area. We are here down somewhere, right? So the fiber is going from the server room, stopped there, and the 500 meters stopped there. Awesome. Too short. Yeah, we had a lot of issues with this. And we, we kind of asked Global Connect, what kind of connectors do the cables you give us have? Oh, they have MX connectors. And everybody said, what's an MX connector? So apparently MX connectors is what TV people do, and networking people don't know what it is. So surprise, surprise, nobody had an MX to LC converter. So we borrowed this very large black box from Global Connect. It needed power. It was the biggest, it was like this, the biggest media converter I have ever seen, and it didn't work. And there was a lot wrong there. So we kind of called for help. He was here last Wednesday and fixed it. And instead of this media converter, right, we got an MX to LC converter, right? Passive. So what we have actually achieved now is that we have, let me go back to the network here. From our server room all the way up through family and all the way up to Global Connect well, it's a passive fiber. So if the power go down anywhere, it will actually not affect our link to Global Connect, which is, from a networking perspective, super cool for stability. Yes, we like that. I actually like this drawing because it just says everything about this venue. It's just, yeah, we have really nice plans and we have really short cables. Again and again. So we also had some special users on our network. We have the Omlice and the POC people. So Omlice, that would primarily be 8-dot running around, setting up all these torches with all kinds of funny... Oh, there's one here? Oh, yeah. Oh, apparently we use props today. these ones. And so it is super cool from a networking perspective. When they turn white, it means that something is wrong and we need to fix it. And it's super nice that 8dot runs around does that for us. Should we give a round of applause for 8dot? And then we have another special user group, which is the POC people, which is the phone operating center, the people working with the DECT phones. There are some configuration needed, some VLANs and so on. And so they are basically supplying the venue with free phone service. I think that's pretty cool also. And Klondike, he got well enough to participate. That's good for you. So should we give the POC people a hand also, just because? Okay. So this is a POP. It's what's called a point of presence. We have 10 of them right now. Some of them are indoor, some of them are outdoor. We have one over there. It's not under a tarp. This one is under a tarp. So what we did was that we started discussing a lot how to, we are in the middle of a field, how do we protect your equipment? So can we just do like last year? That's always the question. And apparently last year we got rack flight cases from the municipality of Bornhack. We got 10 of them, no problem. Okay, that was easy, but kind of wasn't an option here. So we have designed our box ourselves, and we have laser cut it so that it fits with the racks and so on. And we have fibers coming in and so on. And as you can see, this is the torch. Also tells us that we have internet connection, and super nice. So this is our point of presence. We have a pallet, and we put this one on it. It gets lifted from the ground, a tarp over to protect against rain, and it works. We have not had switches and such dying due to rain or anything, even if it had been raining, if you haven't noticed. We have had a bit of rain. Graphs, yes, we like graphs. So one of the discussions is, of course, always heat with these, because some of them can pull 12 amps, kind of generates heat. So we are apparently going from, 35 to 50-ish, and that's within range. So it's okay, the solution we have. Oh yeah, it actually says it here, from 30 to 57. That's okay. So the solution works. We are debating what to do next year, but we have not had broken equipment due to this, so that was a good sign for a good solution. Then we have this issue with, so when we borrow a lot of stuff from Event Infra, they come with European plugs, with the grounding somewhere else. That's all mighty nice, except that we don't do that around here. And these switches, they come with these high temperature cables, so yeah. And we wanted it grounded. If you have network equipment in the middle of nowhere where it's raining and such, we want to have it grounded. So we bought some converters and such, and that worked nicely. Oh yes, prop time. This is also one of our boxes. So one of the conclusions is that when you have a POP, don't walk on it. Okay, just saying. So if, for example, you are building a bar, don't walk on the POP. Okay, it was one of my, I actually not included that in my design specification for the POP. We want them to be foldable. Yeah, okay, it's foldable. But we didn't consider that they were to be walked on. So that was actually one of the only accidents we've had with this, and it's super nice. That one is going in the garbage can. Or perhaps on the bonfire this evening. Oh, sorry. Okay, and then we have wireless. So one of the things that we know in a menu like this is that people actually like wireless for a lot of reasons, and it's super useful, and just there's a lot of equipment and such. So when we got Zebra Wireless to do it like they did on Bornhack last year on Bornholm, I was happy. Because we know John, the Wi-Fi guy, and he knows what he's doing. So walking around the venue with him, he just said, oh, we need an access point there and there and there and so on. Super nice, and it would have taken us forever if we were to do it ourselves. So we're very happy that John, the Wi-Fi guy, does this for us. Yes, we had some discussions about how to do the wireless, as always. Actually, the longest discussion we had was about naming. What should we call these things? So we have one called Bornhack NAT. So yeah, natting, because in this IP version 6 world, natting doesn't exist. And so what should we call it? Because it's kind of protected, but we don't want to tell people that it's safe. It took forever. So we decided that people understand what natting means. And so we have this 802.1x. It's a super nice solution. We've set up a radius server where whatever username and password combination you use, it just says, yay, correct password, let him in. And this has this nice technical feature that everybody gets their own encryption key, so you cannot sniff the wireless traffic of the others. Very cool, very cool. And also another thing, then we have these 5-ish magic usernames, like knock. So if I log on to that one using the knock username, I can put in the correct VLAN. It's a very slick solution. I like it. So 15 access points. We added 2 extra. Stats. Yes, I was very impressed with this one when I saw it. So this was Kramshøj apparently field testing our equipment in the bar. And we ended up at 148 megabits per second upload on wireless. So, okay, wireless is probably working well. Mm-hmm. Ping times of 12 milliseconds, that's good also.
And it's limited to this, to make it fair.
Really?
So the network connection can do more, but it's limited, so every client gets a fair share.
Yes, our network works. That's cool. Okay, more graphs. So we have, sorry, we have, this is a week, and you can see this day-to-day thing. And apparently, we have 125-ish wireless devices connected when you sleep. Yeah, okay. And then we peak at something like 220. So this is nice. So looking at 15 access points and 220 users should not be a problem. Except that, sometimes we have, stuff happening in the tent. So there are 150 people here. It gave us some problems. So that's why we added the extra access points. We had some issues with the wireless this looks very geeky somehow, but the thing that happens for the access point was that we had DDoS protection on it. So if you try to connect too many times on different SSIDs, you will get blocked. So when you had an issue somewhere, people had coded in all four SSIDs. So it just, it doesn't work. I try next one, and next one, and then nothing works because you actually end up in being DDoS protected. It's just okay. So we turned that off, and then stuff started working again. Yeah, turn off protection, and then it works. I mean, security, that's probably relevant for some people. Yeah, it is. Okay, so servers. We have the coolest server room. I arrived here Sunday last week, and I looked. It's again one of these, remember this thing about not just trusting what the map says? So we looked at the map, and he said, where should we put stuff? So when you look at the map, actually the buildings would be a bad place for the server room because it's the furthest away from everything. So we need to have traffic going in the cable 2 times. And so Tückling said, just use R31. It has a lock. And we said, sure, let's use R31. And then I arrived Sunday and looked at it, and actually, it was a super nice place for it. It kind of could have been a closet, it could have been a broom closet, it could have been a toilet, I didn't know. It is also a toilet, but it's separated from the rest. So this is our server setup. We have a lot of stuff. We have a couple of servers for our virtualization. We have, this would be 8dots torch management thingy. We have the wireless controller. And because we are Bornhack, we are using a physical wireless controller because, not leaking stuff to the cloud is good. And then we have our Arista switches, and we have a physical SRX. And what is this one? Oh yeah, that would be our virtual endpoint Was that the correct word? Virtual endpoint, yes. That's basically a device, virtualization device dedicated for network virtual machines. Very cool. So we were running VMXs and virtual SRXs on this. Very nice. Okay. And I was thinking, come on, now we've shown stats for you guys, and let's find some stats for the network guys. Yeah, it was so miserable that I won't even show it. So, network guys, next year, use more bandwidth, right? Like everybody, please. We have had issues with the DHCP, and we've had some issues with the SX, and basically the DHCP was misconfiguration, error 40 or whatever you like to call it. And let's go back to this guy. At the beginning, we had this virtual endpoint virtualization server running both a virtual Juniper MX and a virtual Juniper SRX. And that was all mighty nice, and on paper that looks like a super nice solution. In reality, it crashed, and we said, hey, let's use hardware. So we moved the virtual SRX away from the endpoint device and had a physical SRX 240. And, oh yeah, by the way, did I mention having extra hardware, extra stuff gives you options? Did I mention that? So we just had a SRX 240 lying around that we could use for this. How cool is that? Okay. Yes. So this is the first time we are at this new venue, and as you may have noticed, we have this little too short hashtag going around. I'm not to shame anyone, but I'm pretty sure that the power people have the same feeling. I'm pretty sure of that. So this thing about having, you have a map, you make a plan, and everything is twice as long as you expect. Awesome. We're going to do it differently next time. We're basically going to figure out how long the cables we have used are, mark them, and basically going to do over what we have done this time. The SRX issues we had, if we had had some sort of redundant solution, you guys would not have noticed that we had issues. But since we only have one, it's one of these infamous single points of failure, we would very much like to have more redundancy. So the ring that we did makes a lot of redundancy, but we don't have redundancy when it comes to the speakers tent. We don't have redundancy when it comes to the workshop. We will be looking into that next year and figure out how. I want a north ring and a south ring. Yeah, let's see what happens. We might even get a lot hardware next year also, so that could be super cool. The single bullet point here with the VSRX. So the issue we had where the VSRX, it crashes and it killed the virtualization host. That's a super bad scenario because that means that, yes? That's a bad scenario, which means that all virtual machine running on that host is dead basically. And that will of course affect the entire network when you have multiple things running. So if we could separate these on two different, which basically was what we did since we had a physical SRX. So separating these things will make sure that if one thing dies, a lot of the other things will continue working. So, but as you said, on paper, this VEP solution, we basically want two VEPs and then have them redundantly talk to each other or something. That could be super cool. Yes, and as I mentioned, off-site measurements, just don't do it. We have one of the tasks that we have in the network team is that the day before we start on Wednesday, we want network up and running at around noon. And that's a super nice ambition to have it up and running 24 hours before, because it means that the video guys and everybody else can start using the network. And it also means that when stuff blows up, like the stuff we've gotten from GC didn't match. There was something wrong with the configuration in the GC end, as I recall it, and also in the TDC, and they kind of need a bit of time to fix these things. And we need a bit of time to figure out that it's not us, that it's them, and so on. So this thing of having a buffer, it basically meant that most users didn't know that we were running really late with getting the network up and running. And that was nice. Then we have the the communication with our users, that would be you guys. We need to figure out a nice way of having you guys tell us if you have requests, if you want us to do stuff, that we tell you when it's not working and so on. And we need to figure out if that's a Twitter thing or, oh yeah, we could have a decked, a knock status phone number that can, yeah, okay. Good idea, let's implement that, Klondike. And the pops, yeah, I'm not gonna do anything about them being walkable. I don't think that's worth the effort. But if we are to borrow a lot of really expensive equipment, it might not be a solution that's good enough. And how we specifically do our pops so that they are shielded from the rain and that we have airflow also, it's kind of works against each other. So if you want to have them watertight, you're kind of not letting wind go through. But if you want to have a lot of wind going through, you're going to have a problem with the rain and such. But I think we have really been field testing the design we had when it came to how they handled rain. We have had a lot of rain. Let's agree we don't want that next year. And so then we will have the issue of having super hot boxes because the sun is shining on them. So we have the scenario with a lot of rain and we have the scenario with a lot of sun. Two distinct scenarios, both of them very bad for switches. So we kind of need to figure out how we want to do this. Yes? Too short is also applicable to users. I don't know about you guys, but the cable I brought was definitely not long enough to get to the pop. It was one of these, so when at Bornholm, everything was much closer. So a 30-meter cable could get you very far. Not here, not here. Oh, sorry. The suggestion is we find a sponsor that gives everybody a 50-meter cable. That could be cool, right? Might be useful. Yes. And then the let's call it hiccups we have had with the Wi-Fi. John, the Wi-Fi guy, he has been very supportive. He has been here at the build-up phase, and he's going to show up probably tomorrow in the teardown phase and so on also. But having a dedicated Wi-Fi guy on the terrain will be able to fix these little annoying things that is always there. So for next year, we're hopefully having Seaport doing it again, and then we're gonna find one of you guys that knows Ruckus, and you will be our Wi-Fi guy. So we'll have John the Wi-Fi guy, and we'll have you the Wi-Fi guy. That's the plan at least. Yes? That would be my last slide. Do I have anything I feel like adding? Other than I think it has been a super cool venue. That's well chosen by the Orga group. And plan to scale, that's nice. I think we should give the Orga guys a hand. I really think that also. So, we have, there have been insane amounts of work because reuse of what we did last time simply was not applicable in most contexts. And that's just extra work. And we have done it, and we have pulled it off. And one of these scenarios that I had been planning for was this, oh, we have some drunken idiot breaking a fiber. Not happened. We don't have people tampering with our equipment. We don't have. You guys have been behaving so nice. And we have had so few accidents. We haven't had network outages due to accidents or anything. It's been really a pleasure setting this up and just seeing it work and you guys using it. So thank you all for that. Yes? So, final remark would be that we are in the NOC team. We are going, of course, going to show up again next year. Surprise. But the crew, I hope a lot of them will stay on so that we can reuse our experiences from last time, from this event, so we can set up a kick-ass network next year also. So, thank you all for listening. It's been a pleasure. Wait. Okay, we can do that also. Are there any questions? Might be relevant. Any questions, or do we want to go out into the rain now?
Yeah.
Yes.
How have you guys been managing topography of the terrain when you were setting up the wireless network?
Could you speak up again? Try again, please.
Yes, how did you guys manage to handle topography of the terrain when you were setting up the wireless network?
How did we manage to do what in the rain?
To handle topography, the fact that it's basically like a fucking piece of paper that is completely destroyed. Huh?
Ja.
Hvordan håndterede vi terrænet?
Oh, yes. So, one of the things that you can say about Bornhack is that we are ahead of the curve. We use, amongst other things, child labor. So, you give a 10-year-old a roll of fiber and someone to guide her, and then they can find a way from noisy to bar when the rest of us are given up. So, this thing about the way we actually pull the fibers from left to right, it's basically trial and error sometimes. Rudy tried to go directly from R31 to the workshop building. Kind of this halfway, kind of decided that was simply not gonna happen. So we did the long way around, and it depends on what the terrain says. I would actually like to coordinate a lot more with the power guys, so we can have the cables and the power going the same way and such. But that didn't happen this year much. So we need to have fibers, places where people don't step on them usually. And we are going to have a lot more driving plates next year, because that was a super way of protecting them at the places where people were actually walking. So I have a lot of pictures, and I'm going to make a write-up of whatever at some point. Did I answer your question?
I was more asking how you did that with wireless.
With?
Use the mic.
Sorry. How did you do that with the wireless more than with the fiber?
So back to why we like John the Wi-Fi guy so much. So John the Wi-Fi guy, he says, oh, we need an access point there, and then he climbs up into the tree and sets it up. It's easy being me, I'm just saying. So we like him, and we hope he comes back next year. Otherwise it will be me. Or perhaps we have a 11-year-old that can climb trees. Yes? Are there any other questions?
Maybe for next year, if you want to bring a server, it's possible to get a static IP, so you can have a server with the same IP for all week. So you can bring something that uses a lot of bandwidth next year.
Yes. Use more bandwidth. Yes? We'll stop here then. Thank you all for listening.